You are standing in the center of a collapsing moment. Perhaps it is a high-stakes negotiation, a sudden personal crisis, or a public performance where every eye in the room is a cold weight on your skin, and you feel the familiar surge of biological panic. Your heart is no longer a steady drum. It is a frantic bird trapped in your ribs. Your breath is shallow, your palms are damp, and your internal narrator is screaming 1,000 different exit strategies. In this moment, the pressure you feel is not an external force. It is the atmospheric weight of your own expectations and the perceived judgments of the world pressing in on the boundaries of your ego. You feel as though you are made of glass, and the world is leaning in just enough to find the crack. But you must realize that this pressure is not your enemy. It is the raw material of your greatness. It is the gravity that determines whether you are a loose collection of reactive habits or a forged, singular entity capable of holding your ground when the earth begins to shake. Think about the version of confidence you have been sold. You have been told that confidence is a state of permanent fearlessness, a loud and unshakable bravado that never wavers. This is a lie. True confidence, unshakable confidence, is not the absence of pressure. It is the mastery of your relationship to it. It is the ability to move through the fire without becoming the fire. When you are under pressure, the world is asking you a single, pointed question: who are you when the lights go out? Most people answer that question by dissolving into their anxieties, becoming a frantic reflection of the chaos around them. But you are here to learn a different response. You are here to learn how to develop a psychological ballast, a deep, internal weight that keeps your ship upright even when the waves are higher than your mast. You are going to move from a state of fragility, where pressure breaks you, to a state of anti-fragility, where pressure actually makes you sharper, faster, and more certain. This journey is not about faking it until you make it. Faking it is just another form of pressure, a second mask you have to manage while the first one is already slipping. Instead, we are going to examine the mechanics of your composure. We will look at how you process threat, how you manage your internal dialogue in real time, and how you anchor your worth to something that the world cannot touch. And you are going to learn that the pressure you fear is actually a distorted form of energy. When you feel that tension, it is your body preparing you for an elite level of performance. Your only mistake has been labeling that preparation as anxiety instead of readiness. By the time we are finished, you will no longer see a high-pressure situation as a threat to your identity. You will see it as a laboratory where your sovereign self is tested and refined. You will move from being a victim of the moment to being the master of the moment. The storm is coming, but you are the eye of the hurricane. Chapter 1: The Physiology of the Fortress. You are standing at the threshold of a high-pressure moment, and your body has already declared war on your composure. Before you even have the chance to formulate a coherent thought, on your primitive brain, that ancient vigilant sentry has detected a threat. It doesn't matter if the threat is a boardroom full of skeptics, a difficult conversation with a partner, or a sudden financial crisis. To your biology, the pressure feels like a predator in the tall grass. You feel the adrenaline dump into your bloodstream, a chemical tidal wave that narrows your vision and accelerates your heart. Your hands may begin to shake, your mouth goes dry, and your thoughts begin to scatter like birds flushed from a thicket. This is the moment where most people lose their sovereignty. They mistake this biological readiness for weakness. They feel the surge of energy and label it as fear, and once they have named it fear, they begin to act like a victim. But you must realize that this physiological spike is not an indictment of your character, it is the activation of your fortress. To stay strong under pressure, you must first become an expert in your own internal weather. You have to stop being a passenger to your nervous system and start being the pilot. When you feel that tightening in your chest, you must learn to look at it with a cold, clinical detachment. You are not anxious. You are experiencing a state of high arousal. Your body is trying to give you the resources to survive. It is pushing blood to your muscles, sharpening your focus, and preparing you for a peak output of energy. The pressure you feel is actually a gift of heightened awareness. But because you haven't learned to calibrate the engine, you are redlining. You are vibrating with a power you don't know how to use. To gain unshakable confidence, you must learn to reframe this physical sensation. You must tell yourself, my body is preparing me for excellence. By changing the label, you change the chemistry. You move from a state of threat, which triggers avoidance, to a state of challenge, which triggers engagement. Think about the micro decisions you make in the first 10 seconds of a pressure event. This is the critical window, where your composure is won or lost. Most people use those 10 seconds to panic about the fact that they are panicking. They notice their heart rate and think, oh no, I'm losing it. And that thought creates a feedback loop that amplifies the stress. You must learn to interact with your biology during this window. You start with the breath, not because it's a relaxation technique, but because it is the only part of your autonomic nervous system that you can consciously control. By slowing your exhale, you are sending a manual override signal to your brain. You are telling your amygdala, I am not being eaten, I am in command. This is the first act of sovereignty. It is the realization that you can be physically uncomfortable and mentally focused at the exact same time. You don't need the feeling of calm to act with the authority of calm. You have spent too much time trying to suppress your nerves, as if confidence were the absence of physical tension. But a fortress is not built to ignore the storm. It is built to withstand it. Your goal is not to be a calm person under pressure, but to be a composed person. Composure is the ability to hold your internal structure together while the external world is trying to pull it apart. It is the capacity to remain solid in a fluid situation. When you are under pressure, the world becomes loud and fast. To compensate, you must become quiet and slow. You must learn to lower the volume of your own internal monologue and slow down your physical movements. When you move slowly under pressure, you are demonstrating to your own brain and to everyone watching you that you are the master of the time signature of the room. You are refusing to let the crisis set your tempo. Consider the mental bandwidth required to manage a high-pressure situation. When you are stressed, your working memory shrinks. You become less creative, less articulate, and more prone to binary thinking, seeing things as only win or lose, right or wrong. This is why you must simplify your internal world when the external world gets complex. You cannot afford to be debating your self-worth while you are trying to solve a problem. You must have a preset identity that you step into the moment the pressure rises. You must decide, long before the crisis hits, that you are a person who stays. You are a person who looks. You are a person who breathes. By having these foundational anchors, you save your cognitive energy for the task at hand. You are not inventing a confident version of yourself in the heat of the moment. You are simply deploying the fortress you have already built. The unshakable part of confidence comes from a deep, cellular trust in your ability to handle whatever happens. I'd notice that the trust is not in a specific outcome. You aren't confident because you know you will win. You are confident because you know you won't break if you lose. This is the ultimate defensive strategy. If you are no longer afraid of the consequences of a high-pressure event, the pressure itself loses its teeth. The fear that people feel under pressure is usually a fear of the social death that follows failure, the embarrassment, the loss of status, the judgment of peers. But when you anchor your worth to your performance under fire, rather than the result of the fire, you become invulnerable. You realize that as long as you maintain your integrity, your breath and your focus, you have already won the only battle that matters. You must also recognize that pressure is a truth serum. It reveals the cracks in your preparation and the gaps in your self-belief. Instead of resenting the pressure, you should welcome it as an auditor. It is showing you exactly where you need to get stronger. When you feel yourself yielding to the pressure, when you start to babble or retreat or lose your temper, don't judge yourself. Simply take a mental note. This is where the wall is thin. Every high-pressure situation is a stress test for your soul. Each time you endure it without collapsing, you are tempering your character. You are becoming like steel, which only gains its strength through the repeated application of heat and pressure. You are not unlucky to be in a high-pressure situation, as you are in training. The physiology of the fortress is about containment. You are containing your energy so that it can be directed toward a single point of impact. Stop leaking your power through fidgeting, through excessive explaining, or through the desperate need to fix the feeling of tension. Let the tension sit there. Let it burn. You can carry it. You are far more durable than you give yourself credit for. When you stop fighting the physical sensations of pressure, they stop being a distraction and start being a hum in the background, the sound of an engine running at high speed. You are the pilot of that engine. You are the commander of the fortress. And from this day forward, when the pressure rises, you will not look for an exit. You will look for the center of the storm, and you will stay there until the storm is exhausted. Chapter 2. The anchor of the present moment. You are in the thick of the crisis, and your mind is attempting a desperate act of time travel. This is the great betrayal of your focus. When the pressure peaks, your consciousness instinctively flees the now to obsess over the then or the what if. You are standing in the boardroom, or the arena, or the difficult conversation, but your mind is already 10 minutes into the future, picturing the humiliation of a mistake, the wreckage of a failed deal, or the cold silence of rejection. Or perhaps it is dragging you into the past, reminding you of the last time you faltered, whispering that history is a circle, and you are about to complete it. This mental time smearing is the primary cause of your collapse. You cannot stay strong under pressure if you are fighting ghosts from the past or monsters from the future. Unshakable confidence requires you to drop a heavy, uncompromising anchor into the immediate physical reality of the present. You must learn to shorten your horizon until the only thing that exists is the next 5 seconds. Think about the sheer cognitive load of worrying about an outcome while trying to perform a task. Your brain is a processor with limited RAM, and when you devote half of that power to scenario modeling, failure, you are effectively handicapping your own intelligence. You become clumsy, repetitive, and slow because you are playing a mental game of chess against a version of the future that hasn't even happened yet. To reclaim your power, you must perform a radical narrowing. When the pressure hits, you must deliberately shrink your world. You do not need to survive the next hour. You only need to survive the next breath. You do not need to win the entire negotiation. You only need to hear the next sentence the other person speaks. By collapsing the timeline, you make the pressure manageable. You move from managing a catastrophe to managing a moment. And anyone can manage a moment. This anchor is not a metaphor. It is a sensory practice. When you feel the drift of your anxiety, that light-headed floating sensation where you feel disconnected from your own hands, you must use your senses to pull yourself back down. Feel the texture of the pen in your hand. Feel the weight of your feet pressing into the floorboards. Notice the specific temperature of the air in the room. And these are hard facts of the present that your anxiety cannot argue with. Your fear lives in the abstract, but your confidence lives in the concrete. By forcing your brain to process sensory data, you are essentially grounding the electrical storm of your nerves. You are reminding your biology that despite the social or professional pressure, you are physically safe, you are here, and you are solid. This sensory grounding creates a buffer zone between the external chaos and your internal response. Consider the internal narrator, that voice in your head that provides a running commentary on how poorly you are doing. Under pressure, this voice becomes a frantic sports announcer, shouting about every perceived slip-up. You must learn to mute the narrator and activate the observer. An observer doesn't judge. An observer simply gathers data. Instead of thinking, "I'm shaking, this is terrible," you observe, "There is a slight tremor in the right hand." Instead of thinking, "They think I'm an idiot," you observe, "The person across from me has shifted their posture." By moving to a descriptive, objective mode of thinking, you strip the emotional sting from the pressure. You turn a crisis into a set of variables. When you treat the situation like a puzzle to be solved, rather than a trial to be survived, your confidence naturally rises. You are no longer the victim of the pressure. You are the operator of the situation. You must also recognize the trap of the perfect result. Most of your pressure comes from the belief that there is only one correct way for the next few minutes to go. You have a rigid script in your head, and any deviation from that script feels like a disaster. But unshakable confidence is founded on flexibility, not rigidity. You must enter the pressure zone with the understanding that the script will break, and that you are the kind of person who can improvise. When you stop trying to control the result and start focusing on the integrity of your process, the pressure loses its power over you. If your goal is to stay present and stay honest, you can achieve that regardless of whether the other person agrees with you or the project succeeds. You are setting a process-based standard that is entirely within your control. This is the ultimate anchor, knowing that as long as you are present, you are winning. Think of your focus as a beam of light. Under pressure, that light tends to diffuse, trying to illuminate everything at once: the past, the future, the opinions of others, the possible failures. A diffused light is weak. It cannot cut through the dark. You must learn to focus the beam until it is a laser, aimed directly at the task in front of you. If you are speaking, the laser is on your words. If you are listening, the laser is on their eyes. If you are analyzing data, the laser is on the numbers. When your focus is that tight, there is no room left for fear. Fear requires empty space in the mind to grow. It requires the gap between your action and your awareness. If you close that gap, if you become one with the action you are taking, you enter a state of flow where pressure is transformed into fuel. This doesn't mean you ignore the stakes. You know the situation is important, but you park that importance at the door. You decide that the stakes are a matter for future you to deal with after the event is over. Present you only has one job: execution. You become like a surgeon who knows the patient's life is on the line, but who doesn't think about death while they are making the incision. They only think about the incision. This professional detachment is not coldness. It is the highest form of respect for the task at hand. It is giving the moment the full, undivided power of your consciousness. By anchoring yourself in the now, you are refusing to be bullied by a future that hasn't happened yet. Start practicing this anchor in low-stakes moments. When you are stuck in traffic, or waiting in a long line, or dealing with a minor annoyance, notice your mind trying to flee into the future or the past. Catch the drift. Feel your feet on the ground. Breathe into the now. Build the muscle of presence when the sun is shining, so that when the storm hits, the anchor drops automatically. You will find that the pressure of life is mostly made of time shadows. When you shine the light of the present moment directly on them, they disappear. You are left with a simple reality. There is a challenge, there is you, and there is the next step. Take that step with the weight of your whole soul behind it. Chapter 3. The silence of the ego. You are under pressure, and the loudest noise in the room is not the voice of your critic or the ticking of the clock. It is the frantic, high-pitched static of your own ego. When the stakes are high, your ego becomes a terrified animal, convinced that your entire identity is on the line. It tells you that if you stumble, you are not just a person who made a mistake, you are a failure. It tells you that if they don't approve of you, you are unworthy of space. This is the ego trap of pressure, the false belief that your fundamental worth is a fluctuating currency that is being traded in real time based on your current performance. To achieve unshakable confidence, you must learn to induce a strategic silence within the ego. You must move from self-consciousness, which is a form of paralysis, to task consciousness, which is a form of power. You must realize that the moment you stop defending who you are, you become infinitely more capable of what you are doing. Think about the physical sensation of self-consciousness. It is a tightening, a shrinking, a feeling of being watched by 1,000 invisible judges. Your ego is trying to protect you by making you hyper-aware of every gesture, every word, and every potential flaw. But this protection is a poison. It consumes the very cognitive resources you need to succeed. When you are under pressure, your ego is like a passenger in a car who is screaming directions and grabbing the steering wheel while you are trying to navigate a dangerous mountain pass. To stay strong, you must put the ego in the back seat and tell it to be quiet. You do this by realizing that you are not the center of the universe. The people in the room are not thinking about your soul. They are thinking about their own needs, their own pressures, and their own egos. When you decenter yourself, the pressure drops instantly. You are no longer a monument under threat. You are just a person solving a problem. This silence is found in the shift from "how do I look?" to "what is needed here?" This is the service mindset of elite performance. When a firefighter enters a burning building, they are not wondering if their helmet looks straight or if the onlookers think they are brave. They are looking for the heat, the structural integrity of the floor, and the location of the exit. Their ego has been sidelined by the urgency of the task. You must bring this same emergency-level focus to your own high-pressure moments. Whether you are giving a presentation or navigating a conflict, ask yourself, what does this moment require of me? By focusing on the requirement of the situation, rather than the reputation of yourself, you become a tool of the present. A tool doesn't feel pressure, it only performs its function. Consider the identity clinging that happens when you feel threatened. You have a specific image of yourself, the smart one, the capable one, the reliable one, and you are terrified that the pressure will expose you as the opposite. You are defending a fortress made of cardboard. Unshakable confidence comes from identity fluidity. It is the willingness to be wrong, to be clumsy, or to be judged, as long as you remain committed to the truth of the moment. When you stop trying to be something and start trying to do something, you become unshakable. You cannot be intimidated if you have nothing to prove. You cannot be humiliated if you have no pride invested in the outcome. This is the freedom of the fool. The realization that your reputation is just a story other people tell, and you have no obligation to live inside that story. You must also recognize the narrative loop of the ego. Under pressure, your ego starts telling a story about what this moment means. It says, "This is the turning point where I lose everything," or "This is proof that I don't belong here." You must learn to interrupt the story. Treat these thoughts like a bad radio signal. Do not argue with them, as that only gives them more energy. Simply label them. That is an ego story. By labeling the thought, you create a distance between yourself and your narrative. You realize that the story is not the reality. The reality is that you are sitting in a chair, or standing at a podium, or typing on a keyboard. The reality is neutral. The pressure is only as heavy as the meaning you attach to it. If you strip away the meaning, you are left with a series of mechanical actions. This ego silence allows you to hear the feedback of the environment more clearly. When you are defended, you cannot listen. You hear criticism as an attack rather than data. You see a challenge as an insult rather than an opportunity. But when the ego is quiet, you become highly receptive. You can pivot. You can adapt. You can admit a mistake in real time and fix it before it becomes a disaster. This is the hallmark of true strength, the ability to be soft and yielding on the surface while remaining solid at the core. You are like water. You take the shape of the container you are in, but you never lose your fundamental nature. The pressure doesn't break you, it simply moves you. Think of your ego as a shield that has become too heavy to carry. For years, you thought this shield was protecting you from the world's judgment, but it has actually been slowing you down and making you a bigger target. It is time to set the shield down. You will feel exposed at first, but you will also feel a sudden, shocking lightness. You will move faster. You will see more. You will find that when you aren't busy protecting yourself, you have an incredible amount of energy available for the task at hand. This is the paradox of confidence. You gain the most power when you are least concerned with your own importance. You become invisible to the pressure because there is no ego surface for the pressure to grab onto. Start practicing ego fasting. Seek out small moments of embarrassment or insignificance and stay there. Don't explain yourself. Don't defend your status. Let someone else be right. Or notice that the world doesn't end when your ego is bruised. In fact, you feel more alive, more grounded, and more real. When you enter the high-pressure arena with this practiced silence, you are the most dangerous person in the room. You are the only one not distracted by the mirror. You are the only one who is truly, fully there. The silence of your ego is the foundation of your fortress. It is the quiet before the victory. Chapter 4. The Strategic Disconnect. You are in the heat of the moment, and the world is demanding an emotional reaction from you. It wants you to care about the stakes, to fear the consequences, and to be moved by the intensity of the atmosphere. But to remain unshakable, you must master the art of the strategic disconnect. This is not the coldness of a machine, nor is it the apathy of the indifferent. It is a calculated psychological withdrawal from the emotional weight of the event. You must learn to view the high-pressure situation as if you are a scientist observing a chemical reaction through a thick pane of leaded glass. You see the sparks, you see the volatility, and you understand the danger, but you do not allow the heat to touch your skin. You are in the moment, but you are not of the moment. By creating this internal distance, you preserve the one thing that pressure tries to steal: your clarity. Think about the emotional contagion that occurs in a high-pressure environment. If the people around you are frantic, their heart rates rising, and their voices sharpening, your mirror neurons are screaming at you to join them. You feel an evolutionary pressure to match their frequency so that you can survive as part of the tribe. But the leader, the truly confident individual, is the one who refuses to synchronize. You must become the non-reactive element in the equation. When the room gets louder, you get quieter. When the pace accelerates, you move with a deliberate, almost agonizing slowness. This disconnect is your primary defense against the chaos. You are deciding, with sovereign intent, that the external emergency does not automatically grant the world an internal emergency within your mind. You are the only one who holds the keys to your emotional response. This disconnect is achieved through a technique of functional dissociation. You must learn to divide your consciousness into two distinct parts: the actor and the observer. The actor is the one doing the work, speaking the words, making the decisions, navigating the physical space. The observer is the one sitting 10 feet behind your own eyes, watching the actor perform. When you are under pressure, you step back into the observer. From this vantage point, the pressure doesn't feel like a personal attack. It feels like an interesting set of data points. You can watch your own hand shake and think, How fascinating. The adrenaline is peaking, rather than thinking, I'm failing. By becoming the witness to your own performance, you strip the event of its ability to wound you. You are watching a movie of your life in real time, and you're curious to see how the protagonist handles the next plot twist. Consider the burden of caring. Most of your anxiety under pressure comes from the fact that you care too much about a specific, narrow outcome. You have convinced yourself that if this one moment goes poorly, it is a catastrophic reflection of your destiny. This overcaring creates a mental paralysis. To disconnect, you must practice a form of cynical optimism. You decide that while the event is important, it is not ultimate. You remind yourself that in 100 years, no one will remember this meeting, this speech, or this mistake. You zoom out until the high-pressure moment is just a microscopic speck in the vast timeline of your life. When you reduce the cosmic significance of the event, you release the tension in your muscles. You give yourself permission to play, to experiment, and even to fail. Paradoxically, and by caring less about the result, you become more capable of achieving it. You must also disconnect from the eyes of the others. Under pressure, you often suffer from perceived surveillance, the feeling that everyone is watching you with a critical, judgmental lens. This makes you tight. You start performing for an audience rather than executing a task. To break this, you must depopulate the room in your mind. Imagine that you are alone in your room, practicing the very thing you are now doing in public. Close the psychological door on the expectations of the observers. They are not judges in a courtroom. They are merely background noise in the theater of your action. When you disconnect from their gaze, you return to the private version of yourself. The version that is fluid, natural, and unself-conscious. And you are no longer showing them your confidence, you are simply being in your own reality. This strategic disconnect also applies to the language of the crisis. When people are under pressure, they use catastrophic vocabulary. They talk about disasters, emergencies, nightmares, and breaking points. You must refuse to use this language, even in your own head. Replace these high-heat words with engineering vocabulary. Instead of a disaster, you have a variable to be adjusted. Instead of a nightmare, you have a complex set of conditions. By using technical, neutral language, you cool down the emotional temperature of the brain. You move the processing of the event from the hot, emotional centers of the amygdala to the cool, logical centers of the prefrontal cortex. You are no longer surviving a crisis, and you are optimizing a system. You might fear that this disconnect will make you appear robotic or out of touch, but in a crisis, people don't want a warm leader who is drowning in the same emotions they are. They want a cool leader who is standing on solid ground. Your calmness will be a magnetic north for everyone else's compass. Your ability to remain disconnected from the panic will give them permission to disconnect as well. This is the hidden service of the unshakable person. You become the anchor point for the reality of the room. By refusing to be moved by the pressure, you prove to everyone else that the pressure is not as powerful as it seems. Your disconnection is actually the highest form of connection to the truth of the situation. Start practicing the disconnect in your daily frustrations. When you are stuck in a digital glitch, or a customer service loop, or a minor social awkwardness, practice stepping back. Watch yourself being frustrated. Look at the situation from the ceiling. Use engineering language to describe the problem. Notice how the sting of the moment fades when you stop taking it personally. You are building the insulation that will protect your core when the real pressure arrives. You are learning that your peace is a sovereign territory that does not belong to the world. The world can bring the storm to your gates, but it cannot enter your house unless you open the door. Keep the door locked. Stay in the library of your own logic while the wind howls outside. Chapter 5. The command of the internal dialogue. You are in the eye of the storm, And the most dangerous person in the room is the one living inside your own head. When the pressure reaches its peak, your internal dialogue, that constant streaming narrative of your consciousness, often becomes a saboteur. It stops being a tool for reasoning and starts being a megaphone for your insecurities. It narrates your mistakes before you even make them. It whispers that you are out of your depth. It catalogues the perceived brilliance of your opponents while mocking your own stuttering heart. This internal voice of the critic is the primary leak in your fortress. To stay strong under pressure, you must seize total command of this dialogue. You must move from being a passive listener of your thoughts to being the active editor and director of your mental script. Unshakable confidence is not the absence of negative thoughts, but the presence of an authoritative internal commander who knows how to silence the noise and issue the orders that lead to action. Think about the frequency of your thoughts when you are stressed. They become fast, repetitive, and catastrophic. Your brain enters a loop where it asks the same unanswerable questions. What if I fail? Why is this happening? What will they think? This looping is a massive drain on your cognitive energy. It is like running a high-performance engine while the dashboard is flashing 1,000 false warning lights. To take command, you must first interrupt the loop with a physical and mental stop command. You must literally say to yourself, "Chai, stop," or "wait." This creates a momentary gap in the static, a reset of the system. In that gap, you must replace the frantic questions with command-based statements. Instead of, "What if I can't do this?" you say, "I am handling the next 30 seconds." You move from the interrogative, which is a position of weakness, to the imperative, which is a position of power. This command is rooted in the language of agency. When you are under pressure, your ego wants to use victim language. It says, "I have to," "I can't," or "I'm being forced to." This language reinforces the idea that the pressure is an external monster and you are its prey. To stay strong, you must switch to sovereign language. You say, "I choose to be here," "I am deciding the next move," or "I am observing this challenge." Even if the situation was thrust upon you, by owning your presence in it, you reclaim the psychological high ground. You are no longer a person to whom things are happening. You are a person who is happening to the situation. This subtle shift in your internal syntax changes the way your brain processes the stress. It moves the energy from the reactive centers of your mind to the proactive centers, turning a panic response into a strategic one. Consider the tone of your internal voice. Under pressure, it often becomes shrill, desperate, or mocking. You must consciously lower the pitch and volume of this voice. You must speak to yourself in the tone of a seasoned commander, calm, slow, and utterly certain. This internal vocalization acts as a sedative for your nervous system. If your inner voice is shouting, your heart rate will follow. If your inner voice is a steady, rhythmic whisper of steady, focus, and next step, your biology will begin to synchronize with that calmness. You are essentially hacking your own stress response by using the sound of your own mind. You are becoming your own calm center. You don't wait for the world to be quiet. You create a cone of silence within your own consciousness. You must also learn to curate the data your internal dialogue focuses on. When you are under pressure, your brain naturally magnifies the negatives, the frown on a client's face, the typo on the screen, the slight tremor in your voice. You must override this negativity bias with deliberate highlighting. You must point your internal dialogue toward your competencies. Remind yourself, with clinical brevity, of the facts. I have prepared for this. I have solved harder problems. I'm still breathing. This is not positive thinking in the sense of imagining a magical outcome. It is factual thinking. It is keeping a balanced ledger when your emotions are trying to declare bankruptcy. By highlighting the solid ground you are standing on, you prevent the sinkhole of inferiority from swallowing your focus. The most powerful command you can issue to yourself under pressure is the refocus command. When you feel your mind drifting toward the meaning of the event or the judgment of others, you must ruthlessly pull it back to the mechanics of the task. You say to yourself, back to the breath, back to the eyes, or back to the data. You treat your focus like a stray dog that you are training. Every time it wanders off into a what if, you bring it back to the what is. This constant, gentle, but firm redirection is the hallmark of an unshakable mind. You are not fighting the distractions, you are simply outlasting them. You are refusing to give the pressure the satisfaction of your full attention. You are saving your best self for the work, not for the worry. Think of your internal dialogue as a radio frequency that you have the power to tune. For years you have been tuned to the anxiety FM station, listening to the frantic play-by-play of your own potential failure. It is time to change the station. Tune into Sovereign FM. Listen to the voice that is rhythmic, technical, and grounded in the present. This new frequency doesn't ignore the danger. It simply prioritizes the solution. It speaks in short, actionable sentences. It ignores the drama and focuses on the direction. When you master this internal tuning, the pressure of the external world becomes like the sound of rain on a tin roof. Audible, constant, but ultimately unable to disturb the person sitting comfortably inside the house. Start practicing this command in the small frustrations of your day. When you drop something, or miss a deadline, or feel a surge of irritation, listen to the first thing your inner voice says. If it is a critique or a complaint, intercept it. Issue a command. Correct the error. Next step. Practice the sovereign tone. Build the neural pathways of command so that they are deep and wide by the time the real storm arrives. You will find that confidence is actually just the quietness that results when the commander in your head finally takes charge. The noise stops, the panic fades, and you are left with the only thing that matters, your next move. Chapter 6. The sanctity of the boundary. You are in the arena, and the pressure is no longer just a feeling. It has become an environmental force, a collective expectation that is attempting to colonize your internal space. When the stakes are high, the world does not just watch you, it leans into you. It demands that you mirror its urgency, that you validate its anxiety, and that you become a container for its chaotic energy. This is the leakage of pressure, the way the stress of a room or a crisis can bleed into your soul until you can no longer tell where the external problem ends and your internal identity begins. To achieve unshakable confidence, you must establish the sanctity of the boundary. You must realize that your internal state is a sovereign territory, and you are the only one with the authority to grant or deny entry to the emotional weather of the outside world. Staying strong under pressure is, at its core, a defensive act of psychological border control. Think about the porosity of your current self-perception. When someone is angry with you, or when a deadline is looming, or when a project is failing, do you let that event flood your entire consciousness? Most people do. They allow a single high-pressure variable to dictate the temperature of their entire life. If the work is failing, they feel they are a failure. If the room is tense, they feel they must be tense. This is a boundary collapse. You have allowed the world to walk into your house with muddy boots and sit on your furniture. To stop this, you must build a firewall between the situation and the self. You must learn to say, the situation is in crisis, but I am not. This distinction is not a denial of reality. It is the only way to remain functional enough to change it. You are the doctor, and the crisis is the patient. If you catch the patient's disease, you are of no use to anyone. This boundary is constructed through cognitive labeling. When the pressure mounts, you must mentally categorize the incoming data. You look at the shouting critic, the crashing market, or the looming stage, and you say to yourself, that is an external event. You visualize a clear, unbreakable line between that event and your internal peace. You're like a deep-sea diver in a pressurized suit. The ocean around you is capable of crushing a human being. But as long as the suit remains intact, you can breathe, you can see, and you can work. Your suit is your boundary. It is the realization that the pressure can only crush you if you let it inside your lungs. As long as you keep the outside out, you can operate with the fluid grace of someone who is totally safe. Consider the pressure of the gaze. When you are being watched, you feel an invisible tug to perform, to please, or to defend. You are essentially giving away your boundaries to the audience. You are letting their expectations set the parameters of your behavior. To reclaim your boundary, you must perform an internal withdrawal. You must decide that your primary audience is yourself. You are the only one who truly knows the constraints you're working under, the effort you're putting in, and the integrity of your intent. By making yourself the sole judge of your performance in real time, you create a buffer zone that the world cannot penetrate. The opinions of others become like birds hitting a window. They make a noise, they might even leave a mark, but they do not get inside the room. You must also learn to contain your own reactions. When you are under pressure, your ego wants to vent. It wants to complain, to explain, to justify, or to lash out. This is a leak in your boundary. Every time you react impulsively to pressure, you are losing internal PSI. You are letting your power dissipate into the atmosphere. To stay strong, you must become psychologically airtight. You hold the tension within yourself without letting it deform your outward expression. And this is the Stoic mask. Not a mask of emotionlessness, but a mask of deliberate containment. By keeping your reactions behind the line, you maintain the integrity of your fortress. You are saving every ounce of your energy for the solution rather than wasting it on the expression of the problem. This boundary setting requires a radical no. You must learn to say no to the emotional demands of the moment. If the world is screaming for you to panic, you say no. If the situation is demanding that you feel ashamed, you say no. You realize that you are not a social mirror. You are an independent variable. You do not owe the world a specific emotional response. You owe the world your best performance, and your best performance requires a cool, guarded interior. And this is the strategic coldness that people often mistake for arrogance. It isn't arrogance, it is preservation. It is the understanding that if you allow the world's pressure to dictate your internal state, you have already surrendered your confidence. Think of your mind as a vault. Inside that vault are your values, your focus, and your self-trust. The pressure is the thief trying to pick the lock. Most people leave the vault door wide open, allowing every passing stressor to rummage through their treasures. You must learn to bolt the door the moment the pressure rises. You decide that for the duration of this event, your inner world is off limits to the public. You can engage with the problem, you can talk to the people, and you can execute the tasks, but you do not let them touch the core. This inner sanctum remains quiet, dark, and still. It is the command center from which you issue your orders, and it is the only place where the pressure cannot go. Start practicing the sanctity of the boundary in small social pressures. When someone asks you a prying question, or when a minor social expectation is placed on you, notice the urge to yield or explain. Instead, stay behind your line. Give a neutral answer. Maintain your internal temperature. Notice that you don't have to catch the mood of the person you are talking to. You can remain solid while they are fluid. By practicing these micro-boundaries, you are building the structural integrity that will save you when the massive pressures arrive. You are learning that your confidence is not a gift from the world, it is a fortress that you defend with every breath. You are the guardian of your own peace. Keep the gates closed. Chapter 7. The Alchemy of the Breath. You are in the crucible now, and the pressure has reached its most primitive level. It is no longer just a psychological weight. It has become a physiological takeover. Your heart is a drum being beaten by an invisible hand, and your lungs feel as though they are shrinking, unable to capture the very air that surrounds you. In this state, your intelligence is being throttled. You are suffering from cognitive narrowing, where your brain, sensing a mortal threat, shuts down your higher reasoning to prepare for a raw, physical struggle. This is the choke point of confidence. You cannot think your way out of a biological panic. To stay strong under pressure, you must use the only bridge that exists between your conscious mind and your autonomic nervous system, the breath. You must learn to perform the alchemy of the breath, turning the leaden air of anxiety into the golden fuel of a composed, lethal focus. Think about the way you breathe when you are losing it. It is shallow, high in the chest, and rapid. This is not just a symptom of your stress, it is a driver of it. By breathing this way, you are sending a frantic, non-stop signal to your brain that the emergency is real, that the predator is closing in, and that there is no time for logic. You are trapped in a feedback loop, where your lungs are telling your brain to panic, and your brain is telling your lungs to gasp. To break the loop, you must perform a hostile takeover of your own diaphragm. You must force your breath to go deep, into the belly, and you must extend the exhale until it is twice as long as the inhale. This simple mechanical act is a nerve center override. It triggers the vagus nerve, which acts as the brake system for your heart. You are manually downshifting the engine of your soul, while the world is trying to redline it. This alchemy is not about relaxing. You are not trying to become sleepy or indifferent. You are trying to become sharp. There is a specific state of relaxed alertness that characterizes the world's most elite performers: the surgeon, the pilot, the special operator. They are not calm in the sense of being at a spa. They are calm in the sense that their internal noise has been silenced so that their external actions can be perfect. Your breath is the dial that controls this noise. When you control the rhythm of your oxygen, you are controlling the refresh rate of your brain. You are giving your prefrontal cortex the room it needs to evaluate the situation, to spot the openings, and to make the moves that the panicked version of you would never see. You are moving from the gasp of the victim to the breath of the master. Consider the timing of the breath. Most people wait until they are already drowning in pressure before they remember to breathe. But the unshakable individual uses the breath as a preemptive strike. You must learn to breathe into the gap before you speak, before you react, and before you decide. When a high-pressure question is asked, or when a crisis is announced, there is a split second of silence. Most people rush to fill that silence with a nervous reaction. You must use that silence to take a sovereign breath. This 3-second pause is your declaration of independence from the pressure. It tells everyone in the room, and more importantly, it tells your own nervous system, that you are not a reactive entity. You are taking the time you need to process the reality of the moment. You are the one who determines the tempo of the interaction. You must also learn to breathe through the discomfort. Under intense pressure, your body will experience somatic spikes, surges of heat, tremors, or a sinking feeling in the gut. Your instinct is to clinch against these feelings, to hold your breath and wait for them to pass. But clinching only traps the stress in your tissues. You must breathe into the spike. Imagine the breath as a solvent that dissolves the tension as it moves through you. Instead of being a solid object that the pressure hits and breaks, you become a porous entity that the pressure flows through. You are like a reed in a storm. You bend, you sway, and you let the wind pass through your fibers, but you do not snap. The breath is the lubricant that allows you to remain fluid in a rigid world. This alchemical practice creates a spatial awareness within your own mind. When you are panicked, your mind feels cramped. There is no room for new ideas or strategic pivots. But when you master the deep rhythmic breath, you create internal space. You feel as though you have all the time in the world, even if you only have seconds. This time dilation is the ultimate secret of the unshakable. They aren't faster than you. They just have more time, because they aren't wasting any of it on the friction of panic. They are breathing their way into a state of expanded consciousness, where every variable is visible and every move is deliberate. This is the flow state under fire. It is a place of profound peace that exists right in the middle of the carnage. Think of your breath as a metronome. The pressure is trying to speed you up, to make you frantic, to make you skip steps. Your breath is the steady, unyielding tick-tock that keeps you on beat. No matter how loud the music gets, no matter how chaotic the dance becomes, you stay with the metronome. You refuse to let the world set your rhythm. This is the rhythmic sovereignty of the confident self. You are the conductor of your own symphony, and as long as you control the tempo of your lungs, you control the outcome of the performance. You are not fighting the pressure. You are dancing with it, and you are the one leading the dance. Start practicing the alchemy of the breath in the micro pressures of your day. When the phone rings and you don't want to answer, take a sovereign breath first. When you are about to send an angry email, exhale for 6 seconds first. Build the muscle memory of the deep breath so that it becomes your default setting in a crisis. You will find that confidence is not a thought. It is a physical state of the respiratory system. When your breath is deep and steady, your mind is clear and sharp. You are no longer a victim of the atmosphere. You are the creator of your own internal climate. And the storm can howl all it wants, but as long as you are breathing like a king, you will rule the moment. Chapter 8. The architecture of the pivot. You have built the fortress, dropped the anchor, and mastered the breath, but now the pressure has shifted in a direction you did not anticipate. This is the chaos variable of high-stakes environments, the moment when your plan meets a reality that refuses to cooperate. Most people, when faced with a sudden deviation from their expectations, experience a rigidity collapse. They cling to their original script with white-knuckled desperation, and when the script inevitably breaks, they break with it. They interpret the need to change as a sign of failure, and their confidence evaporates the moment they lose the path. But to be truly unshakable, you must master the architecture of the pivot. You must realize that confidence is not the ability to stay on course. It is the ability to become the new course. You move from a state of static defense to a state of dynamic fluidity, where the pressure doesn't crush you, it simply redirects your energy. Think about the illusion of the plan. You spend hours or days preparing for a high-pressure event, building a mental map of how it should go. This preparation is necessary, but it often creates a psychological trap. You become emotionally invested in the map, forgetting that the map is not the territory. When the terrain changes, when the client asks a question you didn't prepare for, or when the technology fails, or when the opponent makes an unorthodox move, your ego feels personally attacked by the deviation. To stay strong, you must develop a disposable plan. You use your preparation as a foundation, but the moment the pressure shifts, you must be willing to burn the blueprint and build a new one in real time. This is the improvisational leap of the elite mind. You are not losing control. You are trading old control for new relevance. This pivot is executed through the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. When the pressure spikes and the situation changes, You must resist the urge to react and instead reorient. You observe the new data without judgment. You orient yourself by asking, what is the new reality here? You decide on the next logical step and you act with the same total conviction you had for the original plan. By cycling through this loop faster than the pressure can accumulate, you stay ahead of the curve. You become the active ingredient in the room. While everyone else is still grieving the loss of the original plan, you are already 3 steps into the new one. Your confidence comes from your process of adjustment, not from the perfection of your prediction. Consider the fear of looking foolish that prevents the pivot. When you have to change direction midstream, your ego whispers that you look indecisive or that people will see you are winging it. This fear makes you heavy and slow. You stay with a failing strategy because you are too embarrassed to admit it isn't working. But the truly unshakable person knows that stubbornness is the opposite of strength. True strength is the humility to acknowledge the new facts and the courage to adapt to them instantly. When you pivot with authority, when you say, "Yeah, that was the old information. Here is the new direction," you actually increase your perceived status. You show the room that you are so grounded in reality that you aren't afraid of being wrong about the past. You are the master of the now. You must also learn to use the friction of the pressure to power your pivot. In physics, you cannot change direction without friction. In psychology, the stress of a sudden change is the very energy you need to accelerate into the new path. Instead of trying to fight the surge of adrenaline that comes with a surprise, channel it into your curiosity. Ask yourself, what does this new variable allow me to do that the old one didn't? Perhaps the technology failure allows you to have a more intimate human conversation. And perhaps the difficult question allows you to demonstrate a deeper level of honesty. By looking for the hidden opportunity in the pivot, you turn the pressure into a collaborator. You are no longer coping with a problem, you are leveraging a change. This architecture requires a modular identity. You cannot be so attached to your expert persona that you cannot play the student when the situation demands it. You must be able to swap out your strategies like components in a machine. If plan A was built on logic and the room is now emotional, you swap in empathy. If plan B was built on speed and the situation now requires patience, you swap in stillness. This fluidity of function is the ultimate expression of unshakable confidence. You are like a Swiss Army knife. The pressure doesn't break you. It just forces you to unfold a different tool. You are never out of options because you are the one who generates the options. Think of your confidence as a gyroscope. No matter how much the ship tilts, the gyroscope remains level. The pivot is the ship moving. The confidence is the internal mechanism that stays centered. You are not trying to stop the ship from tilting. That is impossible in a storm. You are simply making sure that your inner horizon remains stable. When you master the pivot, you stop fearing the unknown. You start to welcome it, because you know that the unknown is the only place where true innovation and unrehearsed greatness can occur. You move from the safety of the known to the power of the possible. Start practicing the pivot in your daily inconveniences. When a meeting is cancelled, or a store is closed, or a plan falls through, notice the stiffness in your mind. Practice burning the blueprint. Immediately ask, what is the new reality, and what does it allow me to do? Build the agility of your spirit so that when the massive pressures arrive, you don't snap. You bend, you rotate, and you emerge on the other side with a solution that no one else could have imagined. You are not a victim of the change, you are the architect of the response. The world can change its mind as often as it wants. It will never find you unprepared, because you have learned the art of becoming the answer. Chapter 9. The power of the strategic pause. The pressure is mounting, the voices are rising, and the world is demanding an immediate, reflexive response from you. It wants you to stumble over your words, to jump at shadows, and to fill the vacuum of the moment with the noise of your own insecurity. In high-stakes environments, there is a perceived social velocity that dictates you must answer instantly to appear competent. But this is the ultimate deception of the pressure cooker. When you rush to respond, you are operating from your limbic system, the seat of your panic, rather than your prefrontal cortex, the seat of your power. To achieve unshakable confidence, you must master the power of the strategic pause. You must learn to own the silence, to stretch the seconds, and to realize that the person who can tolerate the most tension without speaking is usually the one who controls the room. Think about the physical sensation of a gap in a high-pressure conversation. It feels like a void, an agonizing stretch of time that your ego screams for you to fill. Most people experience silence anxiety. They interpret a pause as a sign of weakness, a lack of knowledge, or a loss of momentum. But the elite performer understands that silence is a spatial weapon. When you pause before answering a difficult question or responding to an attack, you are performing a status check on the entire environment. You are demonstrating that you are not threatened by the void. You are showing that your internal processing is more important than the external expectation of speed. This pause is the weight of your character. It forces the world to wait for you, thereby shifting the gravitational center of the interaction back to your seat. This strategic pause is not a sign of hesitation. It is a sign of deliberation. It is the buffer zone where you perform the internal alchemy of the breath and the command of your internal dialogue. In those 3 to 5 seconds of silence, you are filtering the noise. You are separating the emotional bait from the functional requirement. You are deciding not just what to say, but the frequency with which you will say it. When you finally speak after a deliberate pause, your words carry 10 times the weight of a rushed response. They land with the authority of a judgment rather than the desperation of a defense. You have moved from being a reactor to being a decider. You have used the silence to build a pedestal for your own message. Consider the psychological pressure that a pause places on your opponent or the room. When you remain silent and composed while everyone else is vibrating with urgency, you become a mirror that reflects their own lack of composure back to them. They will often begin to leak more information, to backtrack, or to offer concessions just to break the tension you have created. Your silence is a vacuum that sucks the certainty out of the other side. By holding the gap, you are testing the structural integrity of everyone else in the arena. If you can stay steady in the silence while they crumble, you have won the battle of wills without firing a single verbal shot. This is the quiet dominance of the unshakable self. You must also use the pause to de-escalate your own biology. When you are under fire, your speech naturally accelerates. Your pitch rises, and your sentences become fragmented. And this is the sound of fear, and it feeds back into your brain, confirming that you are in danger. The strategic pause is the manual override for this process. It allows your heart rate to settle and your voice to drop back into its natural chest register, the tone of authority. When you speak after a pause, you are naturally more rhythmic, more resonant, and more compelling. You are no longer fighting for air, you are distributing wisdom. You have reclaimed the tempo of your own life. This practice requires a high level of tension tolerance. You have to be willing to feel the heat of the room without flinching. You have to let the awkwardness sit there like a physical object between you and the other person. Most people are allergic to social discomfort, and they will sacrifice their confidence just to make the discomfort go away. You must become immune to it. You must realize that the awkwardness is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that you are recalibrating the power dynamic. The more comfortable you are in the silence, the more sovereign you become. You are the only one in the room who isn't afraid of the empty space. Start practicing the strategic pause in low-stakes interactions. When someone asks you, "How was your day?" or "What do you think of this?" wait 3 full seconds before you answer. Watch their reaction. Notice how they lean in, how they wait, and how the importance of your next words increases. Feel the surge of your own urge to speak and let it pass. Build the muscle of the gap. You will find that confidence is not about having the fastest answer, it is about having the most certain presence. The pause is the frame around the picture of your competence. Without the frame, the picture is just a blur. With the frame, it is a masterpiece. The power of the pause is the ultimate counterintuitive strategy. In a world that is obsessed with fast, you become the master of slow. In a world that is terrified of nothing, you become the master of the void. You are no longer a cog in the machine of social expectations. You are the wrench that stops the machine so that you can inspect it. When the pressure is at its highest, remember that your greatest strength is not in your output, but in your withholding. Stay in the silence. Hold the gap. Let the world wait for you. And you are the one who decides when the music starts again. Chapter 10. The integration of the unshakable self. You have reached the final layer of the forge. You have deconstructed the physiology of your panic, anchored yourself in the present, silenced the ego, and mastered the strategic pause. But now, as the intensity of the pressure begins to subside, you face the most critical task of all, the integration. To be truly unshakable, your confidence cannot be a temporary performance that you put on like a suit of armor when the world gets loud, only to shed it when you are alone. If your strength is a costume, the world will eventually see the seams. True sovereignty is the permanent fusion of these principles into your core identity. You are moving from a state of doing confidence to a state of being the fortress. You are realizing that the pressure was never a mountain you had to climb, but the very atmospheric condition required for your transformation. Think about the aftermath of a high-pressure event. Most people, once the crisis passes, experience a collapse. They exhale in a way that suggests they were barely holding on. They recount the story of their stress to anyone who will listen, reinforcing the narrative that they were victims of a narrow escape. This post-event leakage actually weakens your future self. It tells your subconscious that the composure you showed was a fluke, a desperate gamble that somehow paid off. To integrate your power, you must remain composed, even after the lights go out. You must treat your success under pressure with a quiet, clinical indifference. You don't celebrate the survival. You acknowledge the execution. By maintaining your boundary even when the danger has passed, you set the concrete of your new character. You are telling yourself, "This is simply how I operate." This integration requires a radical ownership of your failures as well as your victories. There will be moments when the pressure is so great or the situation so novel that you falter. You might skip a breath, rush a pause, or let the ego speak. In those moments, the old inferiority will try to recolonize your mind, whispering that you are a fraud who has been exposed. You must meet this with sovereign grace. A fortress is not diminished because a single stone is chipped. It is a living structure that incorporates the damage into its history. You observe the slip, you analyze the leak in your boundary, and you return to the work. You do not apologize for your humanity, and you do not allow a moment of reactivity to become a permanent identity. You are a work in progress, and the unshakable self is the one that keeps standing up, regardless of how many times the wind knocks it back. Consider the identity shift from seeker to source. For years, you looked at the confident people in your life as if they possessed a secret map you were denied. You were a seeker of external validation, looking for the world to tell you that you were strong enough. But through this process, you have become the source. You have realized that strength is not a quality you get from others. It is a decision you make in the silence of your own mind. You are no longer waiting for the pressure to stop so you can feel confident. You are using the pressure to prove your confidence to yourself. This internal feedback loop is the only one that matters. When you are the one issuing the grades, the world's report card becomes irrelevant. You must also recognize the gift of the pressure. Without the heat, the carbon never becomes a diamond. Without the resistance, the muscle never grows. The high-pressure moments of your life are not interruptions to your peace. They are the very opportunities for your self-actualization. You should start to crave the pressure, not because you are a masochist, but because you are a master. You know that a calm sea never made a skilled sailor. When you see a storm on the horizon, your first thought should not be, "How do I hide?" but "How do I sail?" This proactive engagement with difficulty is the final mark of the integrated self. You have stopped fearing the heavy moments because you have realized that you are heavier than they are. This integration changes the way you interact with the superior others of the world. You no longer see them as threats or as benchmarks for your own lack. You see them as fellow practitioners in the art of existence. You can admire their skill without feeling diminished, and you can witness their failures without feeling triumphant. You are operating on a vertical plane of self-mastery, where the only competition is with the version of you that existed yesterday. This freedom from comparison is the ultimate byproduct of unshakable confidence. When you are truly centered, the hierarchy of the world becomes a playground game that you no longer care to play. You are too busy cultivating your own garden, building your own legacy, and breathing your own air. The sovereign self is a quiet self. It doesn't need to shout its strength, because it is no longer trying to convince anyone. It doesn't need to dominate the room, because it is already the master of its own interior. You will find that as you integrate these principles, people will naturally defer to you, not because you are aggressive, but because you are solid. They will sense your ballast, and they will want to anchor themselves to your certainty. You become a stabilizing force in a chaotic world. This is the hidden leadership of the unshakable. By simply refusing to panic, you give everyone else the permission to be brave, and your confidence becomes a public service. The journey is complete, but the practice is eternal. Every day will bring a new test, a new leak, or a new storm. You will not always be perfect, but you will always be present. You have the tools, you have the architecture, and you have the command. The pressure of the world is just a physical fact, like gravity or the weather. It has no meaning other than the meaning you give it. From this moment forward, you are the one who defines the moment. You are the eye of the hurricane. You are the anchor in the deep. You are the sovereign of your own soul. Go now and stand in the fire. You will find that you are the only thing in the room that cannot burn.